I'm Jeff Hunt. He's Bill Thorpe. It's Monday. $710 KNUS in Denver.
AM 1460, FM 101.1, The Answer in Colorado Springs.
All along the Front Range. This is the Jeff and Bill Show where you get both sides. And the debate hot this morning as we discuss the war against Iran. The headline from the Wall Street Journal, the long-feared Persian Gulf oil squeeze is upon us. Traffic through the Strait of Hormuz has ground to a virtual halt, unleashing the most severe energy crisis since the 1970s and threatening the global economy. Secretary Wright, Coloradan, on the Sunday news show saying that this won't last longer than a week or two as those threats against the ships from the Iranian regime, the failing, destroyed Iranian regime, is just momentary, and they'll be able to attack it, get safety reestablished. Do you agree with that assessment? Do you see us in a long-term problem in Iran? Do you think this was a violation of Trump's promise of no new foreign wars? Or is he finally cutting off the head of a weakened snake that was creating lots of problems? Think Hezbollah, think Hamas, think October 7th, think all the Islamic terrorism that was being funded by these guys, and the fact that they're trying to build missiles to shoot weapons and bombs. And look, we've gotten them and we're taking care of them. Where do you see Trump landing on all this? 1036 texting in, Iran was not fulfilling their end of the deal. They would not allow inspectors in, and they continued to test nuclear delivery vehicles, which clearly indicated that their enrichment program was for military, not power generation. Other ones texting in, Bill, you're a Chamberlain. We had a deal with a psychopathic Islamic radical regime. How naive can you be, Bill? Your response, sir.
What about, wasn't Mr. Art of the deal just negotiating like 2 weeks ago? Isn't that why Kushner was there? Did I miss something? I'm sorry, texter, did I miss something? Obama was negotiating with him and got a deal. Trump was negotiating and didn't and started to attack. So is Trump the idiot? I mean, again, you're calling me the idiot. Why would I possibly believe them? Was Trump the idiot? He was negotiating with them, and he was saying that a deal was close. They came out right before the attack, and the Iranians were saying a deal was close. Yeah, they're probably playing footsie, and they're probably not right about that. But he was negotiating, wasn't he? Yeah, that's weird. Huh. That's strange. So Trump obviously also an idiot. Okay.
But do you
as long as we're all idiots.
Do you think that Obama's deal made the world a safer place?
Safer, yeah, in context, yes. Simply because it was a time in which we had the ability to get in, look, and there were consequences for what didn't happen. And instead, we pulled out, and they were unfettered for years. I have a hard time believing, even though the Obama deal was imperfect and had problems, that we would know more. But we know more because of Trump pulling out of it.
Yeah, but they were still funding Hezbollah, the Shiite militias in Iraq, the Assad regime, the Houthis, the Hamas.
I thought
all that stuff. So they were the tip of all of those problems we had.
I'm sorry. I thought we were discussing the Iran nuclear deal.
Yeah.
Not their funding of Hamas or anything else.
But my question was the world safer in light of that deal? So you got inspectors in to go look.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, they're funding all of this Islamic terrorism that's take place. Plus, they're building weapons, ballistic missiles, that weren't covered under the deal. So my original question still stands. Were we safer as a world because of that deal?
Yes, because we had the ability to check on the Iran nuclear capabilities. And isn't that the big scary boogeyman here? Not that they are funding. I know.
But I mean, if you were an innocent Jew on October 7th, no.
No, but the issue is I keep hearing from the text messages, if we don't go in there, they're going to have the bomb and they're going to go wild with it. So that seems to be priority number one. So, yes, if we have the ability to check on and regulate their nuclear program, yes, the world is safer because of that.
Now they're in rubble. Wouldn't that be better?
Not necessarily. I'm not certain that us spending money in order to pound them into sand is necessarily a better choice. I think there could be other ways about it, but I'm not in charge. The issue is you asked whether or not it was safer.
Yeah.
Yeah, post, and yes, because we had the ability to check on their nuclear program, which is priority A. We can deal with the other priorities. None of that deal solved that, and those are all fair critiques. But the idea of safer, yes, being able to check on their nuclear program is better than not being able to check on the nuclear program.
We're much safer now than we were back then. You have Israel's systematic takedown of Iran and all these other places, Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis in Yemen, and Iran was at the weakest point they had ever been. And Trump and Israel just took them all out. Now, is it perfect? Everything's great, and we have rainbows and unicorns dancing around? No, of course not. But to say that we were somehow safer under an Obama regime and a nuclear deal back then, I don't think is correct. Feel free to give us a call. Join the conversation, 303-696-1971. Phone line's totally full. So once we finish a conversation with somebody, jump in as quickly as you can, 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115. Now it's time for the news.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Good morning. Monday, 41 and partly cloudy in Denver. Just a beautiful morning, 42 in the Springs. Expecting highs in the low 70s today. News sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning. For a new home heating and cooling system, contact your Lennox dealer, Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at pastorcamp.com. Conditions apply. See dealer for details. Our top story, U.S. military operations in Iran are now in their second week. Secretary of State Rubio says Americans in uniform are carrying out what he called an extraordinary operation.
But I want everyone to know your military is getting the job done, and every single day, this regime in Iran has less missiles, has less launchers, their factories work less, and their navy is being eviscerated.
The bodies of 6 American soldiers killed in Kuwait arrived back in the U.S. Saturday, with the 7th death confirmed on Sunday.
U.S. Central Command says on X the service member was seriously injured during an attack on U.S. troops in Saudi Arabia March 1st and succumbed to their injuries on Saturday. Their identity is being withheld until the soldier's next of kin is notified. I'm Elaine Lee Irvin.
A panel in Iran has chosen their new supreme leader.
The second-born son of the last Ayatollah has been named the new supreme leader. Mojtaba Khamenei will succeed his father, who was killed in a series of large-scale U.S. and Israeli missile strikes in Iran. The 56-year-old was chosen by Iran's Assembly of Experts. President Trump has said he must be involved in the appointment and that the choice of Mojtaba Khamenei was unacceptable to him. I'm Rory O'Neill.
Gas prices are soaring.
I'm going to name my next fantasy football league the Assembly of Experts.
I like that.
There you go.
Yeah, absolutely. They may have as much credibility possibly. Yeah, that's who knows. I can't critique them right now because I'm angry with our own right now. I'm kind of with Billy on this one.
You think we should?
We need to get the hell out of there as soon as possible. I don't remember him ever talking about bombing Iran either. I remember him talking about, look, we got to make sure Iran doesn't have nuclear weapons and they're a threat to us. But I think Israel benefits from all this, and Bibi benefits from it, and they're doing just fine. But we need to get the crap out of there as soon as possible. Hopefully you're right. I mean, you predicted this was gonna happen on that Friday. Maybe you can predict that they'll get out of there within a week.
I think
or two.
I think within a week, maybe two. The key thing, Trump will go to the wall, go to the mat to get the oil prices down. He's not going to let this thing fester in the Strait of Hormuz. I mean, if it takes a whole bunch of little submarines around there and then some type of golden dome situation to shoot down any type of drone or rockets, he'll do it. But I don't think it's – I agree with Chris Wright. I don't think it's going to be longer than a week or two of high oil prices.
I'm going to pray for that. I am going to pray for that every day. That would be a good thing, because it is only going to get worse if that doesn't happen. Gas prices are soaring as the price of oil tops $100 a barrel for the first time since July of 22. One of the ripple effects of the conflict in Iran. According to Gas Buddy, the cheapest in Denver in our area is $2.24 at an Exxon in Golden and $2.45 in Fountain in the Springs at a 7-Eleven. Conservative Joe Oltmann is running for governor. He was in the studio on Saturday with Pete.
Our state is a runaway train, and we have some really bad things that are happening in this state. So you need someone that's both tactical and understands the mechanisms by which, what levers you have to pull in order to create a different outcome. So I have those capabilities. I've done that for many years. I have a company that did $200 million in revenue, so I know what it means to run big teams. Not as big as the state of Colorado, but big enough that I'm debt-free, never taken a dollar of outside capital, and I've been able to be very innovative in how we create opportunities for other people.
We'll see. I enjoyed the 3 hours. Thought it was a great show. Good job, Pete. There are long security checkpoint lines at some of the nation's airports as people get away for spring break.
Airports in Houston, Atlanta, and New Orleans reportedly had 1 to 3 hour waits on Sunday, and other airport security checkpoints remain very crowded. The increase in the number of people traveling because of spring break comes as there's a shortage of TSA workers because of a partial government shutdown. Todd Hopley is the president and CEO of the American Association of Airport Executives.
TSA is going to do their very best to try and keep those lines moving. People should be prepared as this drags out for longer lines.
The partial government shutdown is now entering its 4th week. Scott Pringle, NBC News Radio, New York.
Nuggets try to knock off the champions tonight in Oklahoma City. UNC with a big college basketball game tonight against Montana in the first game of the Big Sky Conference. Avalanche winning a shootout in Lodo on Sunday. And the Broncos signed Justin Sternad to a 3-year deal. 42 in the Springs, 41 in Denver. And that is the latest. I'm Blake Olson. More of the Jeff and Bill Show ahead on News Talk 710 KNUS in Denver, and now on AM 1460 and FM 101.1, The Answer in Colorado Springs. This is where you hear both sides. We are the Jeff and Bill Show.
After some active weather last week, we go right back into our mild and dry weather pattern again. The jet stream is going to shift well to the north, so today and Tuesday will be very mild. Denver and Colorado Springs will see 60s and 70s. Now, over the course of the next 7 days, there will be a series of cold fronts moving into Montana and the Dakotas that will occasionally send slightly cooler air south into the Front Range. We'll see that with a bit of a drop in temperature Wednesday, only to see temperatures go back up again Thursday and Friday. Then another one of these dips in temperature, a modest one, will occur over the weekend. Unlike last week when we picked up some badly needed precipitation in many areas, we're right back to likely a mostly dry forecast for the next 5 to 7 days. The exception will be a few mountain snow showers midweek and again late in the week and towards the weekend. Otherwise, we're right back to mild, dry, sometimes breezy conditions. 60s and 70s today and tomorrow. 50s to near 60 Wednesday. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
710 KNUS in Denver.
And on AM 1460, FM 101.1 in the Answer in Colorado Springs.
All along the Front Range, this is the Jeff and Bill Show, where you get both sides. Oh, my goodness, text messages are hot on this one. Jason in Denver, drones are the main reason Ukraine has held Russia in check for 4 years. I remember when the war started, the entire world thought it would only last 2 weeks. Good point on that one. Could this be drawn out in the Strait of Hormuz for a long time using those little lawnmower drones? Let's see. Bill, you're wrong. This is Gino the cop. Iran did not allow inspectors unfettered access to their nuclear sites, and then cites a CBS News article in 2000.
Never said they allowed unfettered access.
There was
said
no
they had access.
real deal by the Obama.
That's not what history shows. We did have a deal. They had 24/7 monitoring at some facilities. IAEA inspectors were on the ground there. Iran had denied us some access to some military sites. That was not allowed under the deal. Yes, that is expected given who Iran is and the games they were playing. But my point still stands. We had 24/7 monitoring and people there versus no monitoring, nobody there. Even if it's imperfect, even if it's imperfect, that gives you more information than the other choice that Trump took. That's it. That's my entire point. I've never said it was a perfect deal. But, Gino the cop, that's incorrect. We had monitoring and IAEA inspectors were there. We were denied access to some facilities, and that is a problem. But that's going to be, again, part of the discussion, but we yanked out of the bill. We yanked out of the deal beforehand. So that's it. Yeah.
All right, let's go to the phone lines. Jesse in Denver. Good morning, Jesse. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. Yeah, so, I mean, I'm amongst the Tucker Carlson group, I guess you could say it that way. I'm a Trump supporter. I voted for him 3 times in a row. And I guess that pretty much sums up my positions for the most part. I do think that we are in a unnecessary quagmire because of Israel again. I think that we are doing their dirty work again. I think it's unnecessary. I think they're going to use this as an excuse to bomb the Al-Aqsa Mosque and try to build the third temple, thereby bringing on the Antichrist. However, I do believe that Iran was out of control. I think Obama's nuclear deal was a joke, and I do think they needed to be checked.
Is that what you voted for, Jesse? Is that in the election, in the run-up to the election, is that what you voted for? That we needed to go and check Iran?
Well, they did need to be checked. Israel couldn't have done it on their own necessarily, in my opinion, effectively.
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there, but is that what you voted for?
I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet, Bill. So, no, we didn't vote for foreign interference. We didn't vote, even though I don't believe this is a war. I think it's more or less just slapping them down. Full-scale war is boots on the ground, etc. So I'll give Trump some credit there. I don't think it's a full-scale invasion, necessarily a war. But no, the MAGA Republicans did not vote for this. We were the gun, so to speak. Trump was the bullet. Our goal was to destroy and get rid of the old George Bush fake Christian Republicans, and that's what he did for us. But no, I don't think we should be there. I don't think we should be wasting trillions of dollars of missiles, any of that.
Fair point, Jesse. Denver, I appreciate the call. Thanks so much.
That's a fair point.
Jesse's line's open, 303-696-1971. Let's talk advanced hair restoration. Guys, if you're losing your hair and desire to have it back, then Advanced Hair Restoration has the easiest guaranteed solution. Their simple one-day treatment offers life-changing results. I've seen it with my own eyes. Guys, it's not magic, but close to it. They put hair where you need it the most, and bam, it grows. It's actually science. Advanced Hair has it all. Top-rated Dr. Tanya Pauls, modern technology, and best of all, you get your own natural hair that begins regrowing the very next day. Advanced Hair even guarantees it will grow for life. So schedule your free consultation now at 720-459-HAIR. If you qualify, you'll get $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Advanced Hair is the winner of Westward's Best of Denver, and it's changed the lives of tens of thousands of people. So don't wait. Check out the before and afters online for yourself. 720-459-HAIR, 720-459-HAIR, or advancedhair.com. That's advancedhair.com. Let's go back to the phone line. Sam and Aurora. Good morning. Sam, you're on with Jeff and Bill.
Good morning.
Sam, we got you?
Oh, yeah. Good morning.
Morning. What's
hear
on your
me?
mind? Yes.
I just wanted to talk Iran. I think the Obama deal was a joke as well, like the last caller. I don't agree that Israel drug us into this, but the deal was not working. They were able to get ballistic missiles, all this drones, build up this big military. I don't think anybody, these people think, there's a special place in heaven for them if they kill the infidels, which is Christians and Jews. If they could, with no consequences, push a button and wipe all of us out, they would. You can't make deals with those kind of people. We are way safer now. We've destroyed tons of their infrastructure, their weaponry. I would literally I probably wouldn't put boots on the ground, but I would just sit in that Gulf and I would just keep bombing them. If we don't like their leader, take him out. This new guy, wipe him out until they start potentially putting in a leader that we want, or until the Iranian people maybe make an advance, or the Kurds I hear are up on the border. And I would just park, an aircraft carrier fleet at the Gulf, let oil come out. We'll take a little bit for ourselves to pay for the war, send some on to somebody else, and just sit there for a decade. I know that's a all-time war, and yes, Billy, I voted for this. I would just keep taking out their stuff because they.
You voted for this, Sam. You voted for this. You voted for war when you were considering. Sam,
one more thing.
When you were considering, you voted for war.
One more thing is, and I forgot what I was saying.
Well, Sam,
okay.
So you voted for war.
No,
you agree you voted for war.
This isn't a war.
It isn't?
I voted for stopping. No, it's not. I had voted
Why not?
for stopping.
Why is it not a war?
I voted for stopping Iran from getting nukes. They were never going to stop. And an example of that is Korea. This is the same strategy, appeasement strategy that Bill Clinton took. And, they weren't making weapons. They weren't going to get nukes. This was a deal that's going to stop them. Now look at them. And they are running roughshod over the region. And Iran will be even worse. They will enact terror like
Sam,
no other.
Sam, why do you say this isn't a war? Why do you come to the conclusion it's not a war?
Because it's an intervention. Like, to me,
isn't that semantics?
Well, you're doing semantics. It's not a war. There's not boots on the ground.
Let me do this.
There's not heavy casualties. This is an intervention, just like Venezuela, just like Obama did in Libya.
Excuse me, Sam. I'm gonna read from the Oxford Dictionary. War definition: a state of armed conflict between different nations or states or different groups within a nation or state. That would fall into this.
That's great. No, it wouldn't.
Yes, it would. A conflict between different groups.
We'd be at war with Russia then.
But different groups. Conflict within different groups. Not unless boots on the ground in Ukraine, we've been in a war with Russia.
Define conflict.
I would say dropping bombs on them and them shooting back. That seems to pretty much define that, and it's sustained. So the idea is but just by the war.
Obama did that?
Pardon?
Were we in the war with Libya when Obama was doing that?
Yeah.
I didn't hear people saying that's a war. And
I understand, but I think that fits the definition. I wasn't happy about what he was doing in Libya either, but I get that, Sam. And the other part I want to put you back to is the idea of how you remember when ISIS was basically created inside of the Iraq War as part of the fallout. Now you remember that, right? How ISIS grew out of what we were doing in Iraq. Okay, now it grew out of Iraq because it was an external power coming in by force, taking control of the country and choosing leadership. Exactly what you are advocating for in Iran right now.
Yeah.
Yet we assume,
100%.
hang on, Sam, yet we assume no terrorists will be born because of this. Yet we have recent history in your history and my history and everyone listening to this of it having the exact opposite effect. So
let me talk to that. So ISIS is jihadists, right? The leaders of Iran are also jihadists. I would rather have jihadists with rocket launchers and guns than jihadists with drones and ballistic missiles and nukes. So I don't care if there's a terrorist that bores out of this. The terrorists, the biggest terrorists in the world with the most money was the leaders of Iran. So if ISIS develops out of this, it will be much easier to control ISIS again, like Trump did in the first term. If Iran's under check, there's not going to be any ISIS. And if we get Iran under check and they don't have money, then we don't have the Houthis, we don't have the Hezbollah, we don't have Hamas. So we get rid of terrorist groups, and we have these hodgepodge rookies, with old weaponry, old guns, and maybe some rocket launchers. I'll take that all day over Iran jihadists having nukes and ballistic missiles.
Yep. Sam Aurora, appreciate the call. Thanks so much. Sam's line's open if you want to jump in real quick, because we got full phone lines, 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. The Wall Street Journal headline over the weekend, the long-feared Persian Gulf oil squeeze is upon us. Traffic through the Strait of Hormuz has ground to a virtual halt, unleashing the most severe energy crisis since the 1970s and threatening the global economy. Can Trump figure this out? Chris Wright over the weekend saying that this will last just a few weeks at most, shouldn't be too long. But Saudi Arabia's American embassies in Saudi Arabia now being told to evacuate. What is going on? We'll give you all the latest. We'll continue. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710, KNUS in Denver.
And on AM 1460, FM 101.1, The Answer in Colorado Springs. This is where you hear both sides. We are the Jeff and Bill Show.
7th and KNUS in Denver.
And on AM 1460 FM 101.1, The Answer in Colorado Springs.
All along the Front Range. This is the Jeff and Bill Show where you get both sides. And for a Monday morning, jam-packed phone lines. We discuss the war in Iran, our way out of this. The Wall Street Journal headline, the long-feared Persian Gulf squeeze is upon us as oil prices jump over $100 a barrel. This hasn't happened since 2022. How long do you expect this to happen? Are you proud of what the president did? Getting rid of the largest state sponsor of terrorism in the world? Or are we into another endless Iraqi Middle Eastern boondoggle? Marvin the meat handler saying the Secretary of Defense was changed to the Secretary of War for a reason. Let's go to the phone lines. Kathy in Denver. Good morning, Kathy. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for taking my call. I had a couple points, and I think one of the questions that was asked is actually the wrong question. I think the question that keeps coming up with different callers is, did you vote for this? And I think that's not really the right question. I think what I voted for is a more peaceful planet, a more healthy environment, geopolitically speaking, and the tactics, are fluid. And I think that Iran showed its colors in its increased relationships with China and, supplying them with 20%, of the oil that Iran has, as well as Russia. And I think they've been stirring up conflict and wars all over the place. The only people really benefiting before Trump acted were globalists, defense contractors, and other people making money on all this chaos. So, Trump said, that he was running on a platform pledging, more sanity, order, and definitely law enforcement being followed and adhered to so we could have a safer country. And I think the question is, did you vote for peace? And I'd say yes. Does this look like peace? No, it's the path to peace. And so, and I think that it's a bigger issue, and we don't know everything that other people know. So we're just seeing the results of it. So I think it's unfair to presume Trump has made the wrong question and he's a warmonger and he's gotten us into another war. I think that is short-sighted.
Okay, Kathy, got a question for you. How does this end? What's the end game? And I'm asking both for you and from Trump. Mm-hmm. What have you heard from the Trump administration as far as when this is over, and when do you think this is over?
Okay, I think it's over when they've taken out enough assets that Iran can work with should the mullahs get back in power. I think they're on that path. I admit that I'm concerned about the shifting goalposts on the amount of time it will take. I think it's because their strategy was not well worked out. I think this was a response to some threats that escalated during negotiations. And these terrorists understand one thing. They understand power and strength. So they don't understand reason and chit-chat. So this was a demonstration of saying, okay, we take you at your word. And so whatever escalated, whatever went on, this was a clear response, an effective response to these people. You have to deal with people in the way that they respond. So how does this end? I think it ends when enough assets are destroyed. I'm hoping that's sooner than later. They're making good progress, which is why we get the updates on how many assets are being taken out in a variety of assets. What it looks like after this, I'm hoping that the people of Iran get leadership in place that they choose, that they want, and they can be the crafters of their own destiny rather than this theocracy with these mullahs terrorizing their own people and the rest of the world in the process.
Now, Kathy, they've already chosen another leader, and yet Trump says it's not really acceptable. Do you agree with him?
I don't know everything about who's been chosen, how these choices are being made. I don't know if they're getting a vote together. I don't know the voice of the people, so I don't know how to answer that, honestly.
Well, and the question is this, though, is that you were saying they get to choose, and they have a structure and system that's been in place to replace leadership since the mid-1970s.
The Assembly of experts.
The
it
thing
sounds
is,
like something out of Monty Python.
Again, I don't care about the funny name. The point is that since the 70s, they knew that Western powers were looking at regime change. They had experience with it in 1953. We came over and overthrew their constitutional monarchy. You know, when they get to vote for who they put in power, we overturned that and put in the Shah, who was a dictator. So before we talk about the idea that we run around and we're looking for them to choose their own leaders, remember their last experience with us is overthrowing their elected leader. So where do we have the ability inside the conversation on their half to be an honest broker of either peace or of freedom, especially when Donald Trump says, I want the Iranian people to choose their own leader, but then I get a vote on whether or not I'm acceptable to that. It's the same thing.
Okay. Yeah, well, you know what, honestly, there's a couple things in play there. You're going back into history when different world leaders were in charge. In the 70s, it was a hot mess. And it resulted in the culmination of the hostages being taken for 444 days. So right there, you had people that were trying to manage this that were frankly incompetent. So now, fast forward 47 years, here we are, or 46, however you're counting. And, you know, the regime change is not clear, and I agree it's fuzzy, and I don't think the strategy has been well thought out. But I think Trump is trying to defend what's been going on, and he doesn't want a corrupt system of appointing some person because there's still levers being, pulled and switched to get another radical government in place. He doesn't want to go back there. He is someone who's more focused on peace, and he doesn't want to keep on dealing with this, ridiculous regime that's causing trouble and fomenting violence all over the place. So I don't have all the answers on that, and I don't know what it looks like. The fact that he is, discounting or refusing certain options, I don't really know what that is. I don't know what to make of it. Sometimes, Trump is not perfect, and sometimes he gets involved in things that, maybe he best, set aside. It's really hard to tell. I mean, I'm not completely brainwashed or, blind to anything Trump does is flawless and perfect. But at the same time, I see the path he's going. And we've got another issue that we're missing, we're not talking about as part and parcel in this conversation, and that is the involvement of China and Russia with Iran. So I do think that he's trying to navigate a few things. Does he have this, succession plan figured out? I don't think so. Is he going to make the right decisions on this? I'm not sure.
I do have a question for both of you, because this was raised by a text messenger earlier. Could the Iran attack be the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand, in the sense that could this kick off a global world war between America, the West, Russia, China? Are you concerned about that? Bill, your thoughts?
Yeah, it absolutely could, because we already have Russia providing information to Iran. And if we get mad about that, do we then tell Russia not to do it, and do we attack them? Do we take the idea of Ukraine? Russia's already an aggressor. Iran is shooting missiles and taking drones and trying to take it out on everybody else in the region. And already the conflict is going from just Israel, Iran, and the U.S. into multifaceted because other countries are being attacked. And part of the problem is going to be that for decades and decades, having American assets, and I mean American military bases and the like, in your country was a form of security. Now it's a reason to be attacked. So yes, this absolutely can be a case that can boil over, especially if China decides that we are too distracted and or involved and looks for Taiwan. And that absolutely could be a play, because they could see your stuff is over and occupied here. We can take this, and you can't come and do anything about it. So yes, this absolutely has. We heard from the for years and years with the Ukraine-Russia conflict. Oh, we can't go in there and support Ukraine because this could boil over into World War III. Biden's trying to start World War III by supporting Ukraine. Now we are involved in an actual armed aggression and bombing campaign against another country. And the idea that
Kathy,
we wouldn't think it go into World War III is silly.
Your thoughts?
I think the texter has an intriguing concept that this is Ferdinand done over. Ferdinand was driven by money. So there is a lot of money here, but I think it's bigger than that. I'm not quite sure this administration is into scope creep. I think they're more into containment. So do I think they'll lash out and attack Russia because Russia is helping the Iranians? No, I think they're going to increase the pressure on Iran and get more intense about how much destruction they're going to create and foment over there. Trump he's been very clear in a lot of his goals and initiatives that he's going in for a purpose and he's going to take care of that purpose. He's not into widespread war. He's been very consistent on that. He does what he needs to do to contain or protect or to eliminate a threat. So I don't think this is going to escalate into World War III or Russia. That being said, you do have a lot of warmongers out there who make money on this kind of thing. I bring up Lindsey Graham, who's, he's got money, interests all over, starting wars all over the place, and that's why Ukraine was able to limp along under Biden. The fact of the matter is this is going to boil down to money, but I think that Trump has shown that he's willing to do the right thing and not just be driven by the money interests. So it's a combination of them.
Kathy, Denver, thanks so much for the call. Is Kathy right? Trump not driven by a money interest?
I don't know if that's I don't think he's ever not been driven by money interest.
That's what I'm like.
Yeah,
oh, okay.
Because he was talking about some of the idea of getting a cut. Again, I won't go down that line. We got to get to a break.
All right. It's Monday morning, the day after the time change, and it is a fun one, hot one. Feel free to jump in. We do have an open line, 303-696-1971. The headline again out of the Wall Street Journal: the long-feared Persian Gulf oil squeeze is upon us. Traffic through the Strait of Hormuz has ground to a virtual halt, unleashing the most severe energy crisis since the 1970s and threatening the global economy. Are you seeing it when you fill up at the pump? Are you willing to give Trump a little bit of wiggle room here, a week or two, to figure this out? We've taken out a regime in Iran that's been a problem for the West for 45 years. We can put up with a week or two of them flailing and threatening ships in the Strait of Hormuz because peace is on the horizon. Or are we just right back into another never-ending war in the Middle East? Feel free to give us a call and join the conversation. All right, let's talk Dan Caplis and Dan Caplis Law. If you want your case to be taken seriously, you should choose a law firm that is taken seriously. Dan Caplis Law is taken seriously. Dan Caplis Law is a real trial firm and proves the truth when the insurance carrier does not pay all that it should in an out-of-court settlement. Dan Caplis is the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 11 straight seven-figure jury verdicts, including a record $205 million jury verdict in a wrongful death case and the largest truck crash jury verdict in Colorado history. Dan Caplis Law is a serious firm for serious cases. They accept righteous injury and death cases on a percentage fee basis. There are no upfront fees, no charge for an initial consultation. Dan Caplis Law has offices in Denver, Greeley, Loveland, and Fort Collins. If you want your case to be taken seriously, call Dan at 303-770-5551, 303-770-5551, or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, C-A-P-L-I-S Law.com. More of the Jeff and Bill Show to come. You're listening to us on 710 KNUS in Denver.
And on AM 1460, FM 101.1, The Answer in Colorado Springs. This is where you're both sides, just like that phone ringing behind me. This is the Jeff and Bill Show.
710 KNUS in Denver.
And on AM 1460 FM 101.1 The Answer in Colorado Springs.
All along the Front Range, this is the Jeff and Bill Show where you get both sides. And boy, what a show this morning. We're talking the war in Iran, the headline out of the Wall Street Journal, the long-feared Persian Gulf oil squeeze is upon us. Traffic through the Strait of Hormuz is ground to a virtual halt, unleashing the most severe energy crisis since the 1970s and threatening the global economy. Secretary of Energy Chris Wright on the Sunday show is saying, hey, this is temporary. It's going to last maybe a week or two. We are on it. We're going to go after those Iranian drones, and we're going to protect the ships. We're willing to back them and via insurance if need be. We'll get this thing opened up, or we into another never-ending war that's going to cost billions of dollars in lives and big problems. What do you think's going on there? Let's go to the phone lines. Francis in Golden. Good morning, Francis. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Morning, you guys. Hey, daylight savings time stinks. Just an observation.
all of us this morning are just like, golly. Fortunately, Becky just brought in a bunch of donuts, so thank you, Becky.
That'll help. Hey, I've often, mentioned that I think Trump is more or less a 15-year-old boy in an 80-year-old body, at least emotionally, as far as maturity, and I think he's an extremely insecure person, and that is not a good combination for someone who discovers the military and it's kind of near equivalent to video games, and who gets goaded into things by an older sibling like Netanyahu. These things can create what we're seeing in Iran. I hope this doesn't, drag out or anything else, but I haven't seen, and I obviously we wouldn't see everything behind the scenes, but it doesn't seem to me that there was a whole lot of planning. Otherwise, we would have seen a more secure Strait of Hormuz going in, because certainly this would have been foreseeable. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know if the people on the talking head shows on Sunday are correct in saying it will take a couple of weeks. I hope that is correct. But I will tell you what, if I was in Vegas, I would bet that we'll see consistent $5 a gallon gas before we see ourselves anywhere near out of there. And before we, because I don't see it taken like that. I don't, these drones we've seen in Ukraine have been a primary mover for keeping Ukraine engaged in the conflict with Russia. I'm concerned about this, and I think Cuba's next, because Trump hasn't matured. He hasn't shown any signs of maturity, and he's going to take his video game to Cuba next. And that's what he's going to do. And Cuba doesn't pose any imminent threat at all, whether or not Iran did or did not. I mean, we've seen a mashup of clips of Netanyahu for 25 years at least, telling us that Ukraine was days away from a nuclear weapon, and it hadn't materialized. But eventually, I think Netanyahu managed to goad Trump into doing what he did, and here we are. It's not a healthy situation.
To your point, Francis, I saw a video over the weekend, I think it was recently, of Trump just going, if they don't do what we tell you to do, or if they don't do what we tell them to do, we just drop a missile on them. And he's talking about cartels. He's talking about I think it's Ecuador and Venezuela, and then Cuba. Somebody else posted, once Trump's done, we're going to have all these great vacation spots. You're going to be able to go to Cuba. You're going to be able to go to Venezuela, Gaza, Iran, and even maybe Minnesota.
That's crazy. I mean, that is, if he has that mentality, we're in a lot of trouble, because those are sovereign nations. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something. But does that very simple question ever enter Trump's mind? Does it ever enter the mind of a 15-year-old?
But I do
My
think
answer for both is no.
I think this is his foreign policy. And his foreign policy is, we're not going to let you fester. If you're a problem, you get hit. We have awesome, amazing air superiority. And then if he doesn't like the next guy, he just does it again. So what's wrong with that foreign policy, Francis?
It's completely, in my mind, it isn't tied to any sort of downstream thinking of what this does. It isn't a policy in and of itself to just might makes right. That isn't a policy. That's just it may be correct as a statement, but it is not correct as a policy because all of these actions are going to have downstream consequences. You had a caller talking about Archduke Franz Ferdinand, and really what happened there was it was a relatively minor localized conflict that conflagrated way out because everybody had interconnecting defense agreements and different war agreements, and nobody at that point in time saw the horror that like trench warfare and mechanized warfare was going to be. There's kind of this romanticized idea that war was something that could be managed with minimal casualties and honor and all these other things, and it wasn't. And I don't know, but what perhaps we're in a similar situation. I mean, maybe war now is just drones. I don't know. I mean, but it's a different type of warfare than we've seen in the past. I just think it's not a foreign policy to just say we can blow things up, so therefore we will blow things up. That's not a policy.
Francis Golden, always great to hear from you. Thank you, brother. Always
thank you.
Fun. Francis's line's open. Jump in if you want to be a part of the conversation. 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115. The United States in a war with Iran. And it's shutting down the Strait of Hormuz. It's driving up oil prices. What do you make of all of this? Are you proud of the president? Or is he a hypocrite? Said he wasn't going to get into new wars. Now we are in one. Give us a call. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710, KNUS in Denver.
And on AM 1460 and The Answer FM 101.1 in Colorado Springs.